Baldur's Gate 3 build crafting is extraordinarily complex. You got race, class, subclass, abilities, feats, spells, equipments, and more and more. In this video, I'm going to break down what I consider the top 10 builds for patch 3 in Baldur's Gate 3. You're going to want to watch this video as I go through and break down the top 10, why they're powerful, what the weaknesses are, and how you can use them. Also, if you want to try any of these builds, I have links in the description below for each of these builds on my website, Deltiasgaming.com. Never let that epic killshot PvP montage slip by without recording for proof to all your friends. Today's sponsor, Outplayed, is a free program that you can download using my code in the link in the description below. My favorite part is that you download it, select the game, and keybinds, and you can capture your favorite replays within minutes of downloading. You can then edit the clips in the program you've recorded, which is sorted easily by play sessions. Within minutes of that epic moment, you can share it on social with your friends and never let it go unrecorded again. Download Outplay using my link in the description below. It's free, it's easy to use, and it supports this channel. Thanks Outplayed for sponsoring today's video. Enough of that, let's get back to the video. First up is number 10, and that's the Warlock build using the Fiend subclass. If you're looking for something super simple that's a powerful spellcaster, the Fiend Warlock build is it. Your build primarily relies on Eldritch Blast cantrip, which does not consume spell slots and gets more powerful as you level up. It also provides you with light armor proficiencies, giving you a little bit more flexibility than your traditional spellcaster. And with the Fiend subclass, you're going to be able to get hit points back on killing targets, keeping you in the fight longer. And unlike other spellcasters, you can use the Pack of the Blade to summon a magical weapon. The main downside of the Warlock is the class is limited in spell slots and also the variety in spells. Think of it as sort of a hybrid spellcaster that doesn't provide the best area damage, utility, or mobility. However, if you play the Warlock and multi-class it into the sorcerer, it's a great combination to obtain meta magic. Pick this build if you want something super simple, spellcaster in BG3. Up next is number 9, that's the Necromancy School for Wizards. The Necromancy Wizard excels at summoning critters and animating dead. The Necromancy subclass gives you a free Animate the Dead spell that increases their health and raises an additional corpse. You can combine this with other summoning abilities like Conjure Element and Minor Element, and all of these summons essentially stack on top of each other. You end up having an undead army of elementals fighting for you on the battlefield. It's absolutely amazing. The downside of this is you're going to have to cast a lot of spells after a long rest, along with finding corpses to get up all your summons and undead. And unlike the Evocation Wizard, the Necromancy Wizard has friendly fire on area effects like Fireball and other spells. If you're looking for something different and powerful and want to summon a lot of creatures, consider the Necromancy build. Up next is number 8, Circle of the Spore's Druid build. The weakness of the Druid class is the emphasis on wild shape, and that seems fun and interesting using a bunch of little animals, but it's actually not that powerful. The difference in the Circle of Spores subclass is that you can use these wild shape charges to enhance your spells. You can use Halo of Spores to create a cloud of neurotic spores, dealing necrotic damage in a massive area. You can then stack Symbiotic Entity, dealing additional necrotic damage and gaining temporary hit points. This allows the Druid to do passive damage and frees up both their action and bonus action for spells and consumables without requiring light wild shape. You essentially get the ability to cast powerful spells, provide area damage, and support if you need it. What holds the class back? It doesn't have meta magic like the sorcerer. It has friendly fire, unlike the wizard using the evocation build. But it's a fun, interesting spellcaster that does really good in combat. Up next is number 7, Way of the Open Hand Monk. The Way of the Open Hand Monk is an extremely strong build if you play it as a multi-class build using the Rogue Thief combination. The Monk class incentivizes you to use bonus actions for unarmed attacks. So if you combine this with the Rogue and the Thief subclass, you're going to get additional bonus action. The Monk has an ability as well to get an extra bonus action for 3 turns, allowing you to stack 3 bonus actions with your action, which also gives you extra attack for essentially 5 attacks in 1 turn. With passive ways to amplify your damage and using unarmed attacks, you're not going to have fancy swords and staffs to do a lot of damage. The downside of this build is it's entirely mobility dependent and also doesn't really have a way to deal with incoming stuns and crowd control effects. If you want something different and you want to feel like a warrior ninja monk, this is the build for you. Moving along to number 6, and that's the Berserker Barbarian build. The Berserker Barbarian is probably the most straightforward melee damage dealer in the entire game. The Barbarian has unarmored defense, similar to the Monk, which incentivizes using clothing rather than medium armor. You should play this build one way, all out meathead aggression, attacking to maintain rage or frenzy every turn, which increases your damage done and reduces your damage. You're going to have very high HP, so you're going to be very survivable even using clothing. A really cool combination that you get with the Berserker subclass is allowing you to use Enraged Throw. You can use a legendary trident to throw it and provide massive AoE damage, solving one of the Barbarian's main issues. The downside of this build is there's no heavy armor proficiency, spellcasting, and it has weak crowd control, so you don't have a whole lot of support or group utility. But if you're looking for one of the simplest, strongest melee damage dealing builds, Barbarian is for you. Up next is number 5, the Gloom Stalker Ranger build. Simply put, the Gloom Stalker Ranger is the best turn 1 build in BG3. Your subclass allows for a free attack on your first turn with high initiative, meaning you're likely to go first. The Ranger gets extra attack, so if you pair that with Dreaded Ambusher attack, you'll have 2 more on turn 1 to eliminate the highest threat target. The subclass also gives you free invisibility spells and superior dark vision, so you can see 24 meters in the dark, and higher mobility with the Misty Step spell. The Gloom Stalker Ranger is essentially a gassed up version of the Rogue Thief build. When you combine the two, however, you're going to get a huge benefit as a multi-class build. The Rogue will give the Ranger an extra bonus action, and with extra attack, you're going to be doing a lot of attacks per turn and or casting spells. The downside of this build is it really lacks crowd control outside of using arrows, so you're going to be reliant on scrolls and ammunition for actually utility. And the power fades beyond level 5, and you're incentivized to multi-class this build to increase its power. However, Gloom Stalker right now is one of my number 1 recommendations for people that love range damage dealer builds. Up next is number 4, Life Domain Cleric build. The Life Domain Cleric is a dominant support and versatile build in BG3. The Life subclass unlocks heavy armor proficiency and powerful healing domain spells. You have a one-hand and shield-wielding heavy armor spellcaster that is incredibly survivable and an ability to heal in a massive area. But you're not limited to healing with this subclass domain. You get Spiritual Weapon and Guardian of Faith. Both spells do not require concentration and can stack, aiding you in combat while maintaining concentration on your buffs for the group. The Life Domain Cleric also has many spells for crowd control, like some of my favorites, Banish and Command. You have powerful buffs like Bless, Beacon of Hope, and Death Ward. And you can combine Healing Word with Cure Wounds to get a bonus action and an action heal in one turn, and it's powerful once you level up and get the AoE versions of both of these abilities. The weakness of the class is there's no additional action or bonus action, and you're going to have terrible mobility that you can solve with gear that offers you the Misty Step spell. Consider the Life Domain Cleric the go-to support class and the community's favorite when using Shadowheart Companion. Number 3 is one of my favorite, and that's the Battle Master Fighter. The Battle Master Fighter is an improved version of the Barbarian. You get heavy armor proficiency, massive utility and crowd control with battle maneuvers, and it's one of the best melee fighters in the game. The Battle Master Fighter is also simple to play. It allows you freedom in weapon and armor choices. You can play a tank, support, all-out damage dealer, and a two-handed greatsword. What separates the class is extra attack, action serve, and improve extra attack. At level 11 in the fighter, with one action, you can attack 4 times. Use action serve, and that will give you another 4 attacks. Combine this with the two-handed great weapon master feat, and if you kill or critically strike an enemy, you get another attack for 9 attacks in 1 turn, unmatched in BG3. The downside of the class is it lacks spellcasting and it's vulnerable to incoming spells. You're not going to have a high dexterity ability score, so you might be lower in the initiative and be vulnerable to get CC'd and skipping your turn. However, the Battle Master Fighter remains one of the most dominant builds in BG3 Patch 3 if you're looking to play melee. Number 2 is the Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer build. The Draconic Bloodline Sorcerer is arguably the most powerful spellcaster in the game thanks to meta magic. Meta magic allows you to manipulate magic either using Twin Spell for 2 targets on a single target ability, or Quicken Spell for a bonus action spell casting. At level 11, you can select the Disintegration spell, the most single target burst in the game. This provides 50 to 100 damage per cast, and then you can combine it with Twin Spell to attack 2 targets with 1 spell slot, possibly 100 to 200 damage. And we're not done yet, you can then activate your meta magic again for Quicken using your bonus action to cast another spell, whether it be massive area or more single target damage per turn. There's nothing that compares to the Sorcerer in pure raw damage. The downside of the class is you gotta constantly rest over and over to recharge your spell slots in your meta magic. The class also has limited spell selection and cannot prepare spells similar to the wizards. You can't swap them in and out really effortlessly. But you can use scrolls, which is very, very helpful. And if you pick the right spells while leveling, this is going to be a powerful build for you to use. Now we're moving on to number 1, and that's the Oath of the Vengeance Paladin build. The best overall build in BG3 Patch 3 is Oath of the Vengeance Paladin. You have the most versatility, single target damage, and survivability all in one class, plus you can use heavy armor and look cool. That matters, right? With the Vengeance subclass, you solve the issue of the Paladin, and that's its lethargic mobility. You gain Misty Step and extra attack at level 5 and feel a massive spike in power, without the need for Amulet of Misty Step or Disintegration Nightwalker boots. The Paladin, like the Fighter, has access to nearly all weapons and armor types, freeing up multiple playstyles. What separates the two is the ability to combine extra attack with Divine Smite, giving you incredible raw damage potential. The Paladin, unlike the Fighter, can also heal allies with Lay on Hands and other spells. And it seems like the developers really want you to use the Paladin because there's tons and tons of gear options specifically designed for them. The downside of the class is you're going to have lower dexterity, so in combat you're not going to go first. You're also terribly immobile, and you have to follow what's called oaths. So if you break your oath, you can play the Oathbreaker build, which is kind of annoying to swap back and forth. Basically, you should be a bad guy, not murder innocent civilians. The Paladin is also great to multi-class with the Fighter to get best of both worlds, but it also can be very complex to sort out. I highly recommend playing the Oath of the Vengeance Paladin. It's the best build in Baldur's Gate 3 Patch 3. I hope you got something out of this video. I have links in the description below for each and every one of these builds on my website, Deltiasgaming.com. So make sure to come there, hit that like, hit that subscribe, and leave me a comment if you want more Baldur's Gate 3. Thanks for watching.